shows you that you can't grow up in Nigeria, see its best and worst, and still remain in touch with what is going on the street. Anyone who tells you he's happy with what is going on in this country is either living in the villa or does not live on this planet. Anybody. So who should solve this problem for us? We have an election in less than 100 days. That election is a defining election. It will determine whether this country sinks deeper or begins a process of turning around. It's not an election about us. It's those in this room. There are a few young faces there. It's about them. And it's about their children and their children. It's about this country. And anybody who thinks this country can go to places, I don't care, then clearly you don't understand. It will go to places if you don't chip in. It will go to places. And you will give it up because the fire will burn you. Because nobody, including our children and our colleagues and our sons and daughters who live outside this country, whose souls are here, millions of them, who are there not out of choice, but substantially because they are angry, they are alienated from this country. They have a stake. They would rather see functioning work in Nigeria that they can come back to and live in and work than stay in somebody else's country and live a marginalized existence. So the challenge really is straightforward. Are we going to sit and watch politicians decide the fate of this country? Or can we build bridges across elites, some of the people in this room, and say, listen, let's talk to each other. Is there an option to this? We get to 2023, between now and 2023 elections, we quarrel with each other, we fight with each other, we burn each other up. The elections come, they are disputed because somebody is not happy, because we've done this before and we can do it again. It's either me or the country can go to places. Or is there something we can do? That's the challenge for the elite. Unfortunately, this elite doesn't exist in one form. We're fractured, we're fragmented. And you can actually see the skeletons on the elites that we're talking about. In the North, we have long given up this idea that the elite can play a role. We've got our fingers burnt in 2015. And that's why we're being very careful now. We're saying allow people to see the best of these candidates and let them choose. And that's why when we created the Joint Area Forum, we didn't just invite the candidates from the northern part of the country and say, come and talk to the North. We invited 6 candidates, 2 from the North, 4 from the South. I said, any one of you can be president. Come and talk to the people of them. Tell them what you will do for our security, for our economy. Tell them. Because you have as good a chance here as anybody else. And when people said, are you about endorsing somebody? We said no, and we mean it. The North has not endorsed anybody, and the North will resist the temptation to endorse anybody because we see how we can make mistakes in the way we choose leaders. This is the elephant in the room. If you have a forum like this and you don't talk like this, let's say what it is. And it was a great outing. And we're very proud of the fact that we were able to do this. So, we reach out to other elite in other parts of the country. And we say, let's talk. And then we find there are so many issues. The elite we think exists don't really exist. Every elite is fragmented, including those from the North. We are all hostages and captives of politicians seeking power. we've all become captives. And if we don't free or release this captivity that we're under, this country is sunk because there's no one else. No one else who would speak for Nigeria. There was no one else who would say, let's go in this direction. The fact that I have come here with the understanding of my forum, with the support of my forum, with the blessings of my forum, suggests that the Northern Elders Forum and the North is substantially open. And we welcome anybody who says, I have a solution for Nigeria. Because if you have a solution for Nigeria, it means you have a solution for our problems in the North. So we are open. But we worry about what is going on in other parts of the country. We worry about the Southeast. The little that we see a divided elite. We don't know whether you are also in support of Peter Obi, or some of you are in support of Peter Obi, or some of you are not in support of Peter Obi. You need to put your houses in order. Because the nation can see, believe me, honestly, the nation can see. And if you can't line up behind someone, don't expect somebody else somewhere else to line up behind you. You need to reduce the distance between the elders and the elites and the young people who are angry and frustrated. And we tell those young people all this. The ones in diaspora and the ones in Nigeria, join the queue, you are not alone. Banditry is a function of the fact that we lost control over our young. Boko Haram is a function of the fact that we lost control over our young. Kidnapping is a function of the fact that Northerners also have lost control over their young. And they are angry with us too. They think we've let them down. So, we believe that if Igbo people believe that it is time to have an Igbo presidency, what they should do is find a way to unite and then reach out to other Nigerians and say, take our candidate, not because he's Igbo, not because he's Nigerian, but because he's the best. If you cannot do that, then don't blame the rest of Nigeria if they do not vote for your candidate. He could win, he could lose. It's a democratic process. If he wins, fine, we will live under an Obi presidency and there's nothing that would happen. We would benefit from whatever it is that he's selling. If he loses, a democracy is more than an election. Let's learn our lessons from this one. Let us not destroy this country because of one election. Our democracy is already shrinking around politicians and elections. That is all. That is all what our democracy is, politicians and elections. The rest of the time, politicians enjoy themselves. So, our hands are open. We believe that it is possible for Nigeria to elect out of the 18 people, the best possible candidate. We will give support only to those that we believe represent the best hope that this country can heal its wounds and move on. And we welcome everybody. But please let me use this forum. Allow every candidate to campaign freely in the Southeast, whatever influence you have. Work to reduce the level of violence that exists, not just in the Southeast, but in all parts of the country. And we say to President Buhari and those who manage the security of this country, there must be a safe and secure environment for everybody to campaign. Because those of us in the North are worried about the fact that banditry and kidnapping and insurgency will preclude the space. And we see the same thing happening in other parts of the country. I personally believe Nigeria has a future. But I believe we have to work very, very hard. Those of us in this room and similar groups elsewhere have to work very, very hard. Let's get to the elections. Let's allow INEC to conduct a credible election. Let the best win. Let the results show. And let us accept whoever wins and then move on and rebuild this country. Restructure it if it's necessary to restructure it. and learn to respect each other. That is the only lesson that we can get from this. We've come too far from the path. We can get back there, but it's not easy. And I would like to thank everybody here for this opportunity, and I would like to thank you for making me a discussant. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. It's obvious that Professor Biozo made very credible choices in selecting all those who are up here today. And without any doubt, this country is endowed with whatever it would take to move us from where we are today. Brilliant minds, committed citizens, and I'm happy that we've gotten so far with this lecture today. So I would move it rather quickly. I'll call on Ambassador Humphrey Ojiako to give us a 2-minute, if it's possible, views on the lecture. Please, sir, restrict it to the lecture so we can move on. We want to make it a discussion, sort of, so that we can engage members of the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for inviting me at this last minute. Until 5 minutes ago, I had no idea I was going to stand up here to represent Chief Nyawodo, whom you all here know is a great intellectual, a great orator, and a great public intelligentsia. I do not know if I can fit into his shoes even for these 2 minutes, but let me try. Chairman, sir, General, I salute you, sir, for honoring us. President General, he was my boss in Washington, D.C. when he was ambassador there. I was the minister in charge of political and economic affairs in Washington, D.C. So he's a man I have so much respect for, and I love to call him my boss and my friend. Professor Suntaku may not know that circumstances have brought us together so many times. The last one was a few months ago in Awka, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, when he delivered another historical masterpiece of a lecture on the same subject of Nigeria. This was on Emeka Anyoko's 89th birthday. Again, I was invited to be a discussant, and it was a very enriching experience for me. He spoke to us from the United States where he was, but I can assure you, it was no less captivating as the one we have had today. My other bosses on the high table, please recognize and salute yourselves. The president of Afenifere is a man I have had the opportunity to meet in the past 5 years under the South Middle Belt Leadership Forum. Sir, we are privileged to have you here today. Thank you very much, sir. So let me go straight to this issue of this wonderful erudite lecture delivered by no other than the same Professor Osuntaku, who doesn't need anyone to introduce or talk about him in the annals of Nigerian history. You have been witnesses to that today. I am really privileged to be talking about it. Take a look at the things he has told us, from which I can draw 4 cardinal lessons. The first is history itself. History is inanimate. History doesn't repeat itself. Human beings are the agents of history. And human beings repeat history and turn around and blame history for repeating itself. look at those lessons from the period of amalgamation to today.
Still stream on the two channels.
The issue was it about uniting Nigeria? And from his lecture, it is absolutely clear that the intention of the British government was not about uniting the different peoples of Nigeria. Is that part reason today, as the PG said in his introductory statement, the issue of national unity still stands out as an aspiration and not a given. It's nothing we have achieved.
Yes.
The second lesson I want us to take away from here today is that reference he made between the dichotomy between Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe and Sir Ahmadu Bello and Chief Obafemi Awolowo. These were people who had different perspectives in realism and in idealism about what Nigeria and Africa could be, what the black race could be. And see how it was resolved. It was resolved partially at Lancaster House agreement that led to independence. Nobody went to war to resolve that, and the British left us peacefully. The question is, what have we done with it? So, when Professor Suntoku begins to talk about a federation and constitutional structures that allay the fears of the various component groups, we are coming back to the rich debate of today. Do we want to call it resetting Nigeria? Do we want to call it restructuring? What are we going to call it? And I'm so pleased to say that my last boss, one of them, Aki Baba Ahmed, I didn't say that, but he was my permanent secretary in the foreign ministry, and I was director of his office. So we became very good and close friends. Up till tomorrow.